Tom Miller sat quietly in the back row of the massive lecture hall at the Galactic Academy of Xenobiology. The seat next to him was empty, as usual. No one wanted to sit beside the only human student in the Advanced Planetary Studies class. The chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture, with walls that shifted colors based on the time of day and floating screens that displayed various planetary data. Today, they showed swirling atmospheric patterns from dozens of worlds across the galaxy. "Look at the human," whispered Blue, a tall, willowy creature from a low-gravity world. "I heard they still use combustion engines on his planet." Quiet laughter rippled through the nearby seats. Tom kept his eyes forward, used to the comments by now. His classmates, coming from carefully engineered paradise worlds and perfectly controlled environments, couldn't understand why anyone would choose to live on a planet like Earth. To them, it was like choosing to live in a disaster zone. Professor Gray floated into the room, his translucent body glowing with the subtle patterns that indicated excitement among his species. "Today," he announced, his voice resonating through the chamber, "we begin our study of Class 12 planets, what some call Deathworlds." The floating screens shifted, displaying a familiar blue and green sphere. Earth. Ridge, a student with metallic scales and crystal formations growing from his shoulders, made a sound like grinding gears, his species' version of a snort. Why study such a primitive world? They haven't even unified their planetary government. More laughter. Tom felt his face grow warm, but maintained his calm. He'd learned that reacting only made things worse. Primitive. Professor Gray's body pulsed with bright colors. "Interesting assumption. Ridge, tell me, how many natural disasters does your home world experience in a standard cycle?" Ridge straightened proudly. "None, Professor. Our world has been perfectly engineered for optimal living conditions." "And you, Blue?" Blue's tendrils waved gracefully. "We eliminated environmental hazards centuries ago. Our gravity is regulated to 0.3 standard, and our weather is scheduled months in advance." Professor Gray's colors shifted to a deep purple. "Now, who can tell me about Earth's conditions?" The room fell silent. Tom felt every eye turned toward him, but he stayed quiet, waiting. No one. Professor Gray expanded slightly, his teaching mode engaged. "Earth experiences thousands of earthquakes annually. It has active volcanoes, hurricane-force storms, and temperature variations that can swing from freezing to boiling in the same region. Its gravity is nearly 3 times what most of you are used to, and that's just the beginning." The silence in the room grew heavier. A few students shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "But surely they live in shielded cities," someone called out. "Some do," Professor Gray responded. "But many humans choose to live directly in these conditions. They build homes in earthquake zones, on floodplains, and in areas prone to massive storms." "That's insane," Ridge declared. "Why would any intelligent species choose to live like that?" Tom finally spoke up, his voice calm and clear. "We don't see it as living like that. We just call it living." The class turned to stare at him, a mix of confusion and disbelief on their alien faces. Some had extra eyes that widened, others had sensing organs that twitched. Professor Gray's body glowed with approval. "And that, class, is why Earth is so fascinating. It's not just about the conditions. It's about how they shape the species that evolved there. Over the next few weeks, you'll learn why Earth's classification as a death world isn't just about its natural hazards. It's about the beings who thrive there." He paused, his color shifting to a bright yellow. "And to help you truly understand, we'll be doing something special this term. Something that hasn't been attempted at the Academy in 50 cycles." Tom sat up straighter. This wasn't in the usual curriculum. "We're going to experience these worlds firsthand," Professor Gray announced, "starting with Earth." The room erupted in shocked whispers and frightened murmurs. Tom couldn't help but smile slightly. Things were about to get very interesting. The next day, Professor Gray's body glowed a soft blue as he began the lesson. The floating screens around the lecture hall displayed Earth's vital statistics, numbers that made several students gasp. Average gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared, he announced. Blue's tendrils curled in shock. It was nearly triple the gravity of their homeworld. Temperature ranges from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius, sometimes in the same region during different seasons. But that's impossible, Ridge interrupted, his crystal formations clicking nervously. No intelligent life could develop under such random conditions. Professor Gray's color deepened, and yet they did. Humans don't just survive these conditions, they seek them out for entertainment. The screens shifted to show images of human activities. Mountain climbing, deep sea diving, skydiving. Several students made sounds of distress. One even had to leave the room. Observe, Professor Gray continued, how humans have adapted. Their bones are denser than most species. Their muscles, evolved under constant high gravity, give them strength that would seem impossible on gentler worlds. Their bodies can survive extreme temperature changes through something they call sweating. Tom watched his classmates' reactions with quiet amusement. He hadn't realized how strange Earth must seem to them. Their worlds were perfect gardens, carefully tended and controlled. Earth must look like a wild jungle in comparison. But surely they use protection, asked a student with transparent skin. Force fields, environmental suits. Sometimes, Professor Gray answered. But often, they rely on simple cloth coverings they call clothes. They have developed these in countless varieties to handle different conditions. The screen showed humans in various attire: winter coats, swimsuits, spacesuits, and everyday clothing. The alien students watched in fascination and horror. And now Professor Gray's body pulsed with excitement. Let's discuss Earth's wildlife. The images changed to show Earth's predators: lions, bears, sharks. The class collectively moved back in their seats. These creatures, Professor Gray explained, still exist in many parts of Earth. Humans choose to preserve them rather than eliminate them as most civilizations do. That's barbaric, Blue exclaimed. Why would they keep such dangers? Tom finally spoke up. We believe every species has a right to exist. Earth isn't just our world. We share it. Ridge's crystals trembled. Share it with creatures that could eat you. It's called an ecosystem, Tom explained. Everything has its place. Remove one piece, and the whole thing can fall apart. We learned that the hard way. Professor Gray bobbed in approval. Which brings us to perhaps the most remarkable thing about humans, their ability to learn from mistakes. Unlike many species that terraform their worlds into perfect safety, humans chose to adapt to their world instead. The screen showed more images: cities built to withstand earthquakes, weather warning systems, and wilderness preservation areas. For next class, Professor Gray announced, we will begin preparation for your practical examination. You will each spend time in simulated environments matching various worlds, including Earth. A wave of nervous chatter swept through the room. Several students looked at Tom with new eyes. Not mockery now, but uncertainty. I suggest, Professor Gray added, his color shifting to a serious green, that you all pay very close attention to these Earth statistics. Your survival may depend on it. As the class ended, Tom noticed Blue and Ridge lingering nearby, looking like they wanted to talk. For the first time, they seemed to realize that maybe, just maybe, they had underestimated both Earth and its people. Tom gathered his things slowly, hiding a small smile. The real learning was about to begin, and he had a feeling his classmates weren't ready for what Earth had to teach them. The simulation chamber was massive, taking up an entire level of the Galactic Academy. As the class gathered outside its entrance, Professor Gray's body rippled with serious purple patterns. Inside this chamber, he explained, you will experience conditions matching different planetary environments. Each simulation will last exactly 1 day. We'll start with the easiest worlds and work our way up to Earth. Tom stood at the back of the group, watching his classmates' reactions. Blue's tendrils were twisted in tight knots, a sign of anxiety in their species. Ridge's crystal formations had dulled, losing their usual shine. First up, Professor Gray announced, "We'll experience Blue's homeworld, Gentle Haven." The chamber doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, they could see a peaceful landscape with purple grass and 3 small suns in the sky. The gravity was so low that some students started floating. "This is more like it," Ridge said, his crystals brightening as he bounced gracefully across the surface. The other students laughed and played in the low gravity, treating it like a game. Blue moved through their native environment with incredible grace, their tendrils flowing like underwater plants. "See, human. This is how civilized beings live." Tom just nodded, conserving his energy. He knew what was coming. The day in Gentle Haven passed easily. Next came Ridge's world, Crystal Plains. The gravity was slightly higher, but everything was carefully controlled. No weather changes, no temperature variations, no surprises. "Tomorrow," Professor Gray announced at the end of the second day, "we move to more challenging environments." That evening, Tom found Blue and Ridge waiting by his door in the student housing unit. "We need your help," Blue admitted, tendrils drooping. "You're the only one who understands these harsh conditions." Tom leaned against his doorframe. "What happened to primitive human?" Ridge's crystals dimmed with embarrassment. "We were wrong. Please, the next world is a jungle planet, and we've never dealt with anything unpredictable." Tom thought for a moment, then nodded. "First lesson. In harsh environments, survival depends on helping each other. Come in." Inside his room, Tom pulled up holographic displays of various environments. The key to survival isn't being the strongest or having the best technology. It's being ready to adapt. He spent the next few hours teaching them basic survival skills. How to test if water was safe to drink. How to find shelter. How to predict weather changes by watching animals. "But why learn all this?" Blue asked. "Why not just bring everything you need?" "Because things go wrong," Tom explained. "Equipment fails, supplies run out, plans fall apart. On Earth, we have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst." Ridge's crystals pulsed with understanding. "That's why you're so resilient. You always have to be ready for things to go wrong." "Exactly," Tom said. "And here's another tip. In the jungle simulation tomorrow, watch out for the small creatures. Everyone worries about the big predators, but it's usually the tiny ones that cause the most trouble." The next day, Tom's advice proved valuable. Several students panicked when they encountered large creatures, but Blue and Ridge remembered to stay calm and watch for smaller threats. They were among the few who completed the jungle simulation successfully. As they exited the chamber, Professor Gray's body glowed with approval. "Well done. But remember, this was just a taste of what's to come. Tomorrow, we increase the difficulty." Tom caught the nervous glances from his classmates. They had finally started to understand. Earth wouldn't just be another simulation. It would be the ultimate test of everything they were learning. And they were nowhere near ready for it. The Earth simulation began at dawn. As the chamber doors opened, the class faced a forest clearing surrounded by tall pine trees. A cool breeze carried the scent of upcoming rain. The impact was immediate. Half the class collapsed as Earth's gravity hit them. Blue's tendrils drooped to the ground, and Ridge's legs shook under the weight of his crystal formations. Even those who remained standing were breathing hard. This is impossible," gasped a student with 6 legs, all of them trembling. "How do humans move in this?" Tom walked past them normally, his body adapted to Earth's pull. "This is just the gravity. Wait until the weather changes." Professor Gray's glowing form hovered nearby, recording their reactions. "Remember, you must survive for 24 hours. Use what you've learned." 3 students quit within the first hour, unable to handle the strain on their bodies. The rest struggled to gather supplies and build shelters, their movements slow and clumsy under Earth's heavy gravity. Blue managed to stay upright by using their tendrils for extra support. Tom, the air pressure, it's crushing me. Try taking shorter breaths, Tom suggested. Your body will adjust. Sort of. Ridge had an easier time with the gravity thanks to his dense crystalline structure, but other problems soon appeared. My sensors are going crazy. There's so much life here, everywhere. In the air, in the ground, even in the trees. That's Earth for you, Tom said. Life finds a way everywhere it can. The first real challenge came with the afternoon heat. The temperature rose quickly, and the humidity made it hard to breathe. Several more students retreated from the simulation, their bodies unable to handle the conditions. Then the storm arrived. Dark clouds rolled in fast, turning day into twilight. The wind picked up, making the huge pine trees sway and creak. The first lightning bolt split the sky with a crack that sent most of the remaining students into panic. What's happening? Blue's voice shook as their tendrils whipped in the wind. Just a thunderstorm, Tom said calmly, helping them secure their shelter. Pretty mild one, actually. Mild. Ridge's crystals vibrated with each thunder boom. You call this mild? Lightning flashed again, closer this time. Rain poured down in heavy sheets. The temperature dropped rapidly, another shock to systems used to controlled environments. On Earth, Tom explained, checking the shelter's stability. Weather can change like this several times a day. You learn to watch for signs, prepare for anything. Through the night, they huddled in their shelter, listening to the storm rage. More students left the simulation, overwhelmed by the constant assault on their senses. Earth's unrelenting gravity, the wild swings in temperature, the endless background noise of insects and animals. It was too much for bodies adapted to gentler worlds. By midnight, only 5 students remained: Tom, Blue, Ridge, and 2 others. They sat around a small fire Tom had helped them build, their alien forms casting strange shadows. I don't understand, Blue said quietly, tendrils wrapped tight around themselves for comfort. How do humans sleep through this? How do you ever rest knowing another storm could come? Tom poked the fire, sending sparks into the dark. You get used to it. After a while, the sound of rain helps you sleep. The thunder becomes like a lullaby. Ridge's crystals reflected the firelight. Your species is either insane or incredible. I haven't decided which. Maybe a bit of both, Tom smiled. But here's something to think about. This is just one day, in one location, in mild conditions. Some parts of Earth are much more challenging. The other students stared at him in silence, their alien features showing various forms of shock and disbelief. The night was only half over, and Earth had many more lessons to teach them. Dawn arrived with a new challenge. The morning sun revealed fresh snow covering the ground, shocking the surviving students who had endured yesterday's heat and storms. How? Blue's tendrils shivered in the cold. How can a planet change so much in one night? Tom helped them all gather closer to the fire. Weather systems move fast on Earth. Mountains on one side, warm air from another. It creates quick changes. The 2 other remaining students, both from desert worlds, couldn't handle the cold. They left the simulation within the first hour of daylight, leaving only Tom, Blue, and Ridge. At least it can't get worse, Ridge said, his crystal formations covered in frost. Tom looked up sharply. Never say that on Earth. It's like asking for trouble. As if on cue, they heard a deep growl from the trees. Something large was moving through the forest toward them. The ground vibrated with heavy footsteps. What is that? Blue's tendrils coiled tight with fear. Bear, Tom said quietly. Big one. Don't run. Don't look it in the eyes. Back away slowly. The massive brown bear emerged from the tree line, standing nearly 3 meters tall on its hind legs. Both Blue and Ridge froze in terror. They had seen images in class, but nothing prepared them for the reality of facing an Earth predator. This is a simulation, Ridge whispered, crystals chiming with fear. It can't really hurt us. Your body doesn't know that, Tom replied. And fear responses are part of the test. Now stay behind me. The bear dropped to all fours and sniffed the air. Tom picked up a burning branch from their fire and held it ready. He began making himself look bigger, raising his arms while holding the flame. "What are you doing?" Blue asked, voice trembling. "You can't fight that thing." "Don't need to fight it," Tom said calmly. "Just need to convince it we're not worth the trouble." The bear took a step forward. Tom shouted and waved the burning branch. The bear hesitated, then let out a frustrated growl and turned away, disappearing back into the forest. Blue and Ridge stared at Tom in amazement. "You just scared away a monster," Ridge said, his crystals glowing with excitement. "Not a monster," Tom corrected. "Just another Earth species trying to survive. Bears usually avoid humans unless they're hungry or protecting their young." "Usually." Blue's tendrils uncurled slowly. "You mean sometimes they don't." "Everything on Earth is unpredictable," Tom explained. "That's why we always stay alert, always have backup plans." The rest of the day brought more challenges. The snow melted by noon, turning the ground to mud. The temperature rose again, creating thick humidity. Insects buzzed constantly around them, and strange bird calls echoed through the trees. "I understand now," Blue said as they worked to repair their shelter. "Earth doesn't just test your strength, it tests your mind, your will." Ridge nodded, his crystals reflecting the afternoon sun. "Every moment requires decisions. Adapt or fail. No wonder humans are so resilient." "We had to be," Tom said, showing them how to dig drainage trenches around the shelter. "Earth doesn't forgive mistakes easily, but it does teach you to be strong." Professor Gray appeared briefly, his form glowing with approval at the remaining students. 6 hours left," he announced, "and then we move to the final phase." After he left, Blue and Ridge looked at Tom with concern. "Final phase?" Blue asked. "You mean this isn't the worst of it?" Tom smiled grimly. "Remember when you all laughed about Earth's weather? About our primitive survival skills? Well, now you know why we have them. But tonight you'll learn why Earth is called a Deathworld." The sun began to set, and with it came the howling of wolves in the distance. The real test was about to begin. Night fell like a heavy curtain over the forest. The temperature dropped again, and the wolf howls grew closer. Blue, Ridge, and Tom sat in their reinforced shelter, watching the darkness through gaps in the walls. "They're hunting," Tom explained quietly. "Wolves work in packs. They're smarter than the bear." Blue's tendrils twisted nervously. "How many threats does your world have?" "Hundreds of predator species," Tom said. "But that's not what makes Earth dangerous. It's the combination of everything. Weather, gravity, predators, diseases, natural disasters. They all work together." A wolf appeared at the edge of their firelight, its eyes glowing. Then another, and another. 7 of them, Ridge whispered, his crystals dimming to avoid attention. "Why do they just watch?" "They're testing us," Tom said, "looking for weakness. This is what Earth taught us. Patience, strategy, teamwork. The wolves learned it too." The pack circled their camp, getting closer with each round. Tom showed his companions how to use burning branches to keep them back. For 2 hours, they maintained their defense, working together to guard all sides. Finally, the pack retreated, finding easier prey elsewhere. "I don't understand," Blue said later as they warmed themselves by the fire. "Why didn't humans just eliminate these threats like other species did? You have the technology." Tom poked the fire, sending sparks into the night sky. "We tried that once, killed off predators in many areas. But it made things worse. The whole system collapsed. Too many plant eaters, not enough plants. Diseases spread faster. We learned the hard way. Earth's harshness has a purpose." "What purpose could all this danger serve?" Ridge asked, his crystals reflecting the firelight. It makes everything stronger, Tom explained. Predators keep prey species strong. Storms make trees grow deeper roots. Even diseases force creatures to develop better defenses. Everything adapts, everything evolves. Blue's tendrils wave thoughtfully. And humans, what did Earth make you become? Problem solvers. Survivors. When you live in a world that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn to think ahead, to work together, to never stop adapting. A distant rumble of thunder made them all look up. Another storm was approaching. That's why we explore space differently than other species, Tom continued. We don't look for perfect worlds to colonize. We look for challenges to overcome. Every problem is just another puzzle to solve. Ridge's crystals pulsed with realization. That's why the Galactic Council fears humans. They fear us. Tom looked surprised. Think about it, Blue said. Most species evolved in controlled environments. Safe, predictable worlds. But humans, you evolved in chaos. Learn to thrive in it. What happens when you bring that adaptability to the stars? The storm reached them, but this time Blue and Ridge didn't panic. They had learned. They worked with Tom to secure their shelter, maintain their fire, and stay safe. You know what's really interesting? Tom said as they listened to the rain. Earth isn't even considered a particularly harsh world by human standards. There are Earth colonies on worlds with stronger gravity, worse storms, more predators. Blue and Ridge stared at him in shock. Impossible, Ridge whispered. Not for humans, Tom smiled. Like I said, every problem is just a puzzle waiting to be solved. As the night wore on, Professor Gray's form appeared briefly outside their shelter. His color patterns showed amazement as he recorded their progress. Only 3 students remained, but they weren't just surviving now. They were thriving. The final hours of the simulation approached, and with them would come the greatest challenge yet. But now Blue and Ridge understood something crucial about their human companion and his species. Earth wasn't just a death world. It was a forge, and humanity was the steel it had created. 3 months after the Earth simulation, the Advanced Planetary Studies classroom looked very different. Tom no longer sat alone at the back. Blue and Ridge had moved their seats next to his, and other students often gathered around them before class. Today was graduation day. The floating screens showed images from their Earth simulation, including the thunderstorm, the bear encounter, and the wolf pack siege. The whole class watched in respectful silence. Professor Gray's form glowed with pride as he addressed the room. This year's class has taught us all something important, not just about Earth, but about how different environments shape different species. The screens changed to show the final hours of the simulation, the flash flood that had nearly swept away their shelter, the mudslide they'd escaped, and the earthquake that had shaken the forest. Through it all, Tom, Blue, and Ridge had worked together, using their different abilities to survive. I have an announcement. Professor Gray continued, his colors shifting to formal patterns. For the first time in Academy history, non-human students have completed the full Earth simulation. Blue and Ridge have earned special honors for this achievement. The class erupted in applause. Blue's tendrils waved proudly, and Ridge's crystals sparkled with joy. But more importantly, Professor Gray said, they've helped us understand something crucial about humans. Tom, would you share your final presentation? Tom walked to the front of the room, no longer the quiet student they'd once mocked. The screens shifted to show Earth's history, natural disasters, wars, plagues, and technological advances. Most species evolved to fit their environment, Tom began. But Earth wouldn't let us just fit in. It forced us to adapt to everything. Hot, cold, wet, dry, high gravity, thin air. We learned to handle it all. He showed images of human achievements, cities in deserts, research stations in Antarctica, underwater habitats, space colonies. You all wondered why we keep Earth's predators, why we don't control our weather, why we live in dangerous places. It's because Earth taught us that comfort isn't the goal. Growth is. Challenge is. Every problem we solve makes us stronger. The screens displayed the galaxy, with human exploration routes marked in red. That's why we explore space differently. Other species look for perfect worlds. We look for challenges. Every harsh planet is a new puzzle to solve. Every dangerous environment is a chance to adapt. Blue stood up. That's what makes humans different. You don't just survive challenges, you seek them out. Ridge joined in, and you help others face them too. Without Tom's guidance, we would have failed the simulation. He taught us not just how to survive, but why Earth's harshness is valuable. Professor Gray's color patterns showed deep satisfaction, which brings me to our final announcement. The Academy has created a new position, Earth Studies Instructor. Tom has accepted the role. The class buzzed with excitement. Several students immediately raised hands to sign up for the course. But that's not all. Professor Gray continued. Blue and Ridge will be his assistants, helping other species understand what they learned. Because the galaxy needs to understand humans better. Not to fear them, but to learn from them. Tom looked at his former classmates, remembering how they had once laughed at his primitive world. Earth isn't just a death world, he concluded. It's a teaching world. Everything that makes it dangerous also makes it valuable. Every challenge it creates makes its inhabitants stronger. He smiled at Blue and Ridge. And now we can share those lessons with the galaxy. As the graduation ceremony ended, students gathered around Tom, Blue, and Ridge, asking questions about Earth and humans. The mockery was gone, replaced by genuine curiosity and respect. Professor Gray's form glowed with the brightest colors they'd ever seen. Remember this day, he told them. It's not just about graduating. It's about understanding that sometimes the harshest teachers give the most valuable lessons. Outside the classroom windows, the galaxy stretched endlessly, full of challenges waiting to be faced. And now, thanks to one human student and his determined alien friends, the next generation would be better prepared to face them.